We've been talking about the issues of the psychology of addiction, and we want to now go beyond the diagnosis and talk about, what is real, very, very real. And you spoke about the fact that, we as a people, we don't seem to be addressing the really concrete issues.
No, no.
Popularizing, music, popularizing, what's happening, what's trending. But the dark side is not being dealt with. The issues that are coming of it. Dr. Abiri, you mentioned just now the issue of even the lyrics in the music saying things about what? Blow? Please, could you just clarify what were you talking about?
Well, so a couple of music that young people listen to in this age and time are laced with, and I say that very carefully because that's also a term that is used when people use substance. But a lot of our music is actually laced with the names of substances, the methods of substance use, and how people feel, the effects that substances have on individuals. And so it's no longer
It's
not
encouraging.
hidden. Yes, it's encouraging. It's no longer hidden. It's something that people are, proud to sing in songs. It's something that people are chanting along when people sing. But of course, the Broadcasting Corporation ensures that radio stations, if you listen to some music, some songs, you would find out that more than 70% of the songs is blurred out. And that's because it's either the language is lewd, the lyrics are not fit for radio, or the content is something that is encouraging negative behavior. But beyond the music that people listen to, we also, of course, see the music videos. So beyond what they hear, we also see what the music videos show. We also see what our movies encourage: aggression, nudity, language, and violence. And all of these things are things that are needed or that allow substance abuse to thrive, or addictive behavior to thrive when people need to do them. So it's everywhere. It's no longer hidden.
And it's almost as if, doing the right thing is boring, is dry. And focusing on things like, these illegal substances. Because I know, and I mean, we are all aware that in many of these nightclubs, these things are everywhere. And if we're encouraging it, if all the music and all the trending things encourage these things, how can we then talk to people about stopping it? I mean, what position are you even as a parent? Because we talked earlier about parenting. You're there telling your I don't know, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, oh no, don't take cannabis, don't take marijuana. What do they tell you? Dr. Adedeji.
You see, let me share one story with you. A mother came to me a few years ago, about 10 years ago, with her two sons. And then she spoke to me that they're in college in a Christian university. They haven't been caught, but they're doing marijuana, doing drugs. So I spent some time with them. So when we were done, the mother said they should go to the car and said to him, but doctor, my problem is this, their father used it. So I then said to myself, why didn't you tell me from the beginning? You let me waste my time with them, because they would then say to me themselves, this man must be one of those stupid old men. If my father uses and there's nothing wrong with him, and this man is telling me to stop. But eventually one was caught, he stopped, but he's doing very good now. But one was affected to the point that he couldn't get his life together. You see, the thing that I was to look at in the management of this is talking about awareness is the holistic nature. The problem with Nigeria is we attack things in silo. You see, the thing with me is this. I think we should tackle this issue of substance abuse in a holistic manner. What we're doing as a country is we're following silo mentality. And the problem we have is for the general population to think that this is the duty of NDLA. It is not. NDLA is just a central, how do I say, a central figure that helps all of us. Are they going to be in marriages? Are they going to be at school parties? Are they going to be in homes? Where are they going to be? Are they going to be, there was a day a chairman of a wedding told me, he said at the wedding, They just noticed the chief bridesmaid, she was dancing in a manner that was beyond expectation. She took off her shoes and she had taken pepper soup laced with marijuana.
At the wedding?
At the wedding.
Yes.
Served at.
Yes.
I'm glad that you know, Dr. Abiri. You see, the thing is this. Some of those things are done for certain circles. If you go to a party, I tell young people, when you go to a party and you stay in a general space, don't look for special rooms. In those special rooms, they do different kind of things. Do you know that they put this in the AC vent so that everybody who is there? So look, this is huge, more than we think. And if we begin to tackle it, the NDLA is doing a fantastic job. But the problem is how much can they do? How much more? In a country of 200 and something million, and then you have a population of people using drugs close to 30, 40 million. What do they want to do? So it's something that I think we should face more drastically. The paper that I wrote, I said to the government, declare an emergency, but explain to people what the emergency is not. It doesn't mean we will jail everybody. It doesn't mean we will kill people. But let people also be friendly towards your policy so that they can get involved in it. And then they also might help. Do you know that communities in Lagos, where they know that their community, they know where they sell the drug. I know some places where every house, they sell drug. And it's a community in Lagos. So if you then don't engage with the landlords of those places, engage people with traditional rulers, I know, don't let me say this on air, I know there are some traditional rulers, you know, some guys told me some traditional who sell and then they make parties for these boys to come and you can't trust any drink you take. Look, Pamela, you don't know what you were dealing with. I'm glad that Dr. Abiri is huge. And it has to be a concerted strategic effort that is well coordinated. You see, government cannot just say, throw up his hand, we declare emergency, and then we go and sit there as we usually do. Of course not, it's not going to work. It's not going to. They must be systematic. They must be conscious. You know, before we used to worry not to talk to young people, primary school about drugs. They will even lecture you today about drugs. I went to Gbonjubola to help them set up a center. They brought me 4 10-year-olds who have been doing drugs. I saw them, not that they showed me.
Sorry.
I met them.
Sorry. I want to just clarify this. 4 10-year-olds doing drugs, you mean like just taking alcohol from sachets or proper?
No, they were taking marijuana. They were taking marijuana.
Where do they get the money
marijuana? They gather themselves, they go and play somewhere. They say they play music. So they give them some money. That was how they were collecting money. And they told me, those 4 boys told me that they were plenty. Some of them, you know, Dr. Abiri said something. It becomes compulsive, then they will do anything to satisfy the crave. They will sell their parents' things. Yes. They will steal their friends' things. Yes. They will sell their own things. Some of them go to give blood, to donate blood.
At age 10, who even accepts them to donate blood? Dr. Abiri, can you for more on this? Are you seeing these kind of critical cases yourself?
Yes, I am actually. And not very many, largely because many parents will miss it. And so they may not see it. Again, they may miss it because the children probably just take enough. They're out playing, but when they come home, you know, at the end of the day, they're either keeping to self, they're isolated and about to go out the next day. I think that's something that I would add to what Dr. Dokun has said is also that we must remember that some of these children are being used as couriers. And so adults or, adult users also use these children and they just give them a little. You know, a few years ago, there was, this young man who I started to do some work with, who told me that many years ago, when he was on his own 7-year wilderness journey, on a normal work day, he had gone into a hotel in Abuja and he saw 4 secondary school students in school uniform who actually came to collect a package that they were going to deliver somewhere else. Unfortunately, 2 of those girls, one of them actually died. One continued to use substances, but 2 of them, their parents were able to intervene and rescue their children. So even children are being used as couriers so no one is left behind. And so earlier on, you probably heard Dr. Dokun say the age of 8. the age of initiation has drastically reduced. In those days, it used to be around 16, 17. In fact, many of us went to school and we probably never saw anything that looked like marijuana. We just used to hear that, people will go cocoa, or we never used to see cigarettes. But these days, you're having 8-year-olds who are experimenting, and no thanks, of course, to social media as well. And again, the influences we see on the media, young people who are exposed to music videos with lewd lyrics, sex and violence, children who are not, they're not supervised. Their play is not supervised. The things that they watch are not supervised. They are easily influenced by what they see on, not just on TV. And you must remember that quite a number of these children also have phones. And so they are on the internet, they have social media. And so there's of course, it's a complex issue because there are many things that feed into what these children see and what influences them to either use or be part of a system that enables use.
Now we have on this, different kinds of people who listen to these things. And I'm hoping that, some young people are out there listening to this podcast. But, we sometimes have, so we have a wide range from what I call grandmothers down to the people. So what do you want them to do? Because Dr. Dokun has spoken about a national emergency, which hasn't been called. What can we do in our own capacities as parents, grandparents? You talked about stopping just now, but what can we do to help those, how do we get people to be aware that 8-year-olds are now being introduced to drugs?
So, it's interesting.
Let me go.
Okay, let me let you go.
Go on, Dr. Abiri. Go on.
Yeah, so I was going to say that it's interesting that, substance abuse is not something that I like to talk about because it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart at the reality that I see, the reality of what is actually going on and how that we don't even realize that we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Again, quite just like mental health conditions, substance use has no respect for anyone. And so we're seeing children, including newborns that are, babies from mothers who were using and probably giving birth to in bunks. You're seeing children who are modeling behaviors, like Dr. Dokun said, after either a parent or an uncle or a celebrity that they're looking up to. You're seeing teenagers. You're seeing young people. In fact, when you see young adults and young adolescents these days, what they're telling you is, well, many of these substances are, they're from nature, Mother Earth. They grow from the ground. But you're also telling them that, do you know that some of these substances have human feces laced inside them? And they're like, well, it really doesn't matter. It gives me the high that I want. And then you have couples. It might shock you to even know that even some couples use substances either to enhance their sex lives or to when they go out to make, their social gatherings enjoyable. And then, of course, you also have elderly people who have not stopped to use substances, be it alcohol, be it prescription medications, be it any of the illicit ones that we hear on the street now. And so I think that the first thing I would say is that we must all be aware. We must be informed. We must stop pretending like ostrich with head in sand that, just because it's not in my house, it doesn't affect me. Many parents never find out that their children are using drugs till after 3 years, at least.
3 years.
And then yes, Dr. Dokun will probably corroborate what I'm saying. And sometimes some don't even know.
No.
But when many parents find out, many of those children have been using substances for at least 3 years. Many of these young people also go to schools. So when you start to see a pattern like, this child went to this university, didn't finish. You went to another university, didn't finish. You went to another university. More often than not, there's a substance problem there. And so people must be aware. We must be informed. We must stop pretending. And we must start to speak to our young ones. We must acknowledge that there's a problem and that we must not wait until that problem comes to our doorstep before we start saying we want to do something about it. Dr. Dokun mentioned this earlier on, but I will reemphasize that all hands must be on deck. Everybody's voice matters. Everyone's contribution to this cause matters. No effort is too little, none is too much. As parents, we must have something to say. In schools, either as teachers, as mentors to some of our children, we must have something to say. In the religious homes, there must be something that we must say. The role of, grandparents. A lot of young people don't want their grandparents around their children, but you will never know what your grandparents can actually help your children, achieve, because they're around to see some of these behaviors, sometimes, especially when people leave their children with carers and helpers. So everybody has a role to play. Of course, the last set of people will be government, but before it gets to government, let's all do the little that we can. It will add up at the end of the day.
So, Dokun, there's something that some people say, and this is something that, because of what we're talking about, the fact that it is virtually ubiquitous, some people claim that when they take drugs, it enhances their performance at work, at this, at that, it makes things better for them. What do you have to say to them? And what more do you have to say about what we've been saying so far?
Right. Let me just build on the emphasis of what Dr. Abiri has said. One thing that I always start from when people say that the attitude, there's truly a high with drugs, but it's perceptual. It is not the reality. The way you will know if 10 people use paracetamol, they are likely to have the same benefit of effect to say the pain disappears. But if 10 people use marijuana, they're going to have very perceptions. So for some people, I think we mentioned in the beginning, there's a reward system with what they do. When they use it, they say to themselves, oh, it makes me sleep. An adult says to me, when I take stout, it makes me sleep. So I said to him, before you met stout, how were you sleeping? So if we don't confront them, these people are very knowledgeable. They want you to come at them at this rate of science. No, come at them at the rate of basic senses. And then let them see their nonsense they're thinking. It's perception. If we can defeat the perception they carry, they say when I did, it makes me, I can remember, think very well, I can sing very well. It is not true. I know a singer who we grew up together, Lagbaja. He's a complete gentleman. He's never smoked or drank in his life. So what gives him inspiration? People don't know that. You see, one thing I like to emphasize, apart from the fact of talking about prayer, in psychology, there are 3 components we talk about. The E, which is genetic, the ego, which is about self. Who am I? The essence of the human person. And then the superego. The superego is external and modifies the ego. If the superego superintends over the ego of a person, like most parents, go and sit down, look at your brother, they are doing very well. You are still here in school, sir, you haven't passed, they already graduate. You are destroying the self-worth. Many of these young boys lack self-esteem. So in trying to make up to that, they need something to jack them up. Look, why does anybody need anything to enhance sexual pleasure? If it's not just to go and boast to his friend, oh, I was able to do 10 rounds. What the hell does that mean in terms of love making? So it's a misapplication of perception that has been now ingrained. And because I must say this, the basic foundation of our nation is destroyed in terms of value. The value system is zero. The moral tone is poor. So what do you want to preach to these young people? They see the people who litter various political spaces, who they know do these things. And then they say, if this person can be in that place, why can't I, even if I use? No role modeling for these young people. And we blame them. But I say to parents, they didn't drop from heaven. They came out of us. How many parents have time? You wake up at 4 o'clock, you're gone. You leave your kids with a minder. And then by the time you come at 10, they have slept. The weekend that you have with them to even spend some time, you go on social. And then you tell me that your kid is going to see some learning. It's difficult. So they learn from outside. I mean, can I tell you this? And I know Dr. Abiri will also confirm. General Marwa has found that many of the dispatch riders, they supply drugs. So when you see a home, when they buy a lot of this, the dispatch rider is always coming.
Okay, Pamela, so let me add to what Dr. Dokun is saying. A few years ago, I had this young female patient, by the way, who was home, and the mother called me and she was giving me feedback and saying, that she's okay, she's calm, she's been staying at home, although she hasn't been eating much, she has been ordering cookies. Once I heard like this, I said, oh my days. She didn't have to go anywhere. She was getting her supplies right at home. So it's very right what he said. Dispatch, so you know, the people who use substance, and again, they're extremely intelligent. They're constantly looking for innovative ways to package, use, to deliver, to get it. And so don't be surprised that what he said is true. It's actually true.
I mean, I'm telling you what happened. They caught some of them. There was a doctor, a medical doctor in Benin that was caught about a year and a half ago who makes cookies and caused the dispatch to send them, and she was putting marijuana. She's a medical doctor. This was a well-documented case. So what do you want to say about that? And then when parents then allow their kids the opportunity, look, today they don't need to go out to go and get it. Even all this Uber and everything they carry. I mean, I've had cases of somebody who send a pot of stew to somebody and give the Uber driver 25,000 to carry stew. Of course, it's not stew. You can bet it. I can bet my last dollar that it's not stew. There's something else. And this is something that goes on. And then you just, do you know that you can't go to a party today and just innocently take anything? You just can't. So I say to young people, before you go to any party, eat and drink in your house. Because, I mean, look at what they call scoochies. They mix a lot of it and put it in jerry can and then put it in ice cold.
What's
and
scoochie?
Scoochies. They get something like strawberry, dissolve it, and then soak it in marijuana and put cough syrup in it and put tramadol in it. And then they then put in ice, and then they can serve with the ice. Look, Pamela, I can bet you. You say what?
They put it in ice, or they put it on ice. You put it in the drink, and they put ice.
No, they put ice. They put ice, and then they serve it in cups or something. They even sell it around schools for 200 naira a cup.
Wow.
And then, can I tell you this? There's probably no nightclub in Lagos that does not sell drugs. I doubt if there is any. And then you can then look at, Pamela, as Dr. Abiri said, you know, when I talk about substance abuse, it breaks my heart. I've been in this thing, we've been doing this work for 32, 33 years. So you can imagine what I have seen.
And your thing is getting worse now.
Oh, you bet. I just told you about the age of initiation, as low as 8.
Yeah.
So is it not getting worse when they can get it with on the street? You know, this crystal meth, ice, which they call ice. You just need to buy a little chunk, extremely addictive. And when they take it, 2-3 days, they won't sleep, particularly the artisans. And they're very strong, they begin to work. They don't eat, but in a few months, they begin to have seizures. Some of them even die. You know, there's so much on the street that I can't tell you. I'm sure Dr. Abiri and I cannot tell you enough. And I can tell that even from what both of us are saying, we are just even scratching the surface in terms of what is the reality on the street. That is, if everybody does not wake up, particularly the religious institutions, I say them because they are the ones who see a lot more people. Their pastors must sit down to learn, and then they must look at the members. I spoke at a program on a radio station. A guy called and said, "We will not name his church." He said he's the teacher of teenagers. That in the compound of their church, he saw a dealer talking to 2 of his teenagers. They were making deal in the compound of the church. So you can tell me what is not possible.
So now, because you are right, a lot of these children are going to churches, they're going to religious institutions, and they're not being, right. They have like children's church or teenage church or youth movement. And you're saying that it's happening right there under the noses of all the supervising adults. And they're not.
Absolutely. Because the adults don't know what to look out for.
So what should they be looking for? Can you talk about that? What should they be looking out for?
Look, the thing is, many of these children, there are little signs you see. Carelessness, they come, they are dressing, and then they go and sit somewhere different. They are carrying their mobile phone. Even when you are talking in front of the church, they're using their phone. And then you don't know what they're using the phone for. You see, all these things come from home. The permissiveness of home comes into church. And also the church is not talking about family system anymore. Everything is about money, about building a new cathedral, about raising money and all the rest. So parents are now competing to bring money, no time for children. And I've asked some churches, the pastor is the husband is the pastor, the wife is the pastor. So who takes care of the children when they leave home at about 6:30, 7 in the morning and come back at about 4? Who takes care of the children? I know some of these children know when to come to church. They know when to leave. So it's Pamela, we can't finish. It's just that we all must wake up. We must wake up and smell the coffee.
Okay, before we go, because we've talked about this a lot, but we need to talk about what can parents do if they identify their child, their ward. Where can they take them to? We haven't got enough rehabilitation centers. What can we do? Where can they go?
Okay, maybe before let me just say this. There's something that NDLA has done. They have a toll-free number you can call. Some people can be put on counseling or can be sent somewhere, and then some can be referred to rehabilitation home. And the thing also that we need to worry about, and Dr. Abiri also will speak to, many of the rehabilitation homes we have are pretty expensive. So many people cannot. And those who can go to, and like Yaba, Arrow can do it, but they are stigmatized. That when you go to Yaba, Arrow, it means you are mad. But, so we need to start from a place to, when parents know, the thing to do is to face reality. Don't condemn these children. Remember, any child can use drugs. If he's coming back from class and then he sees his friend eating noodle or eating bean and he eats with him, does he know how the guy has produced the food, prepared the food? So, and then he takes it and then say, oh boy, what was that? Or he takes a drink or he takes scoop. He goes to the park, they give him cake. And parents must come aware that because the child is positive for drugs, does not make him an addict. Does not make him a terrible person. It just means that this child needs help. The family needs help because there's something wrong basically in that family. If we do that, like Professor Asankutu did with HIV/AIDS, when he demystified HIV and said, my brother fella died on company. It began to change people's perception. If we have some people like that, big in society who come out to say, look, my son used, oh, my daughter used, oh, I used, but look at me today. These are people begin to see that, sorry, this is not limited to motor park. It's not limited to people that are irritated. But it could be anyone. So those are some of the things that I think we need to begin to get to understand and then have a general understanding.
So I'll just leverage on what Dr. Dokun said when he talked about, user groups. User groups are such a powerful tool to helping people understand the challenges that we have. When he was speaking, I recalled the young man that I said I did some work with. He would always tell you, and I'm hopeful that you can invite him one of these days on the program. He would tell you how he went to a Christian primary school, how he went to a Christian secondary school, how he went to a Christian university. And eventually when he got to, a secular university out of the country, he lived with 2 foreigners who used substance morning, afternoon, and night. And every day they kept inviting him to come and use it until one day he went to use it. And so for 7 years, that started a 7-year wilderness journey, during which, he was unable to finish the program that he went for. He sold one of his parents' houses.
Wow.
Yes. He broke a leg. He attempted suicide. But today is a driving force for change when it comes to substance. And so I think that, many, many times when I sit with my patients, and Dr. Dokun may bear me witness, and you're telling them, this thing, can't you see the patterns? Can't you see what it's doing to you? Can't you see? You know what they say? They look at you and they say, Doc. I'm like, yes. They say, have you ever used this thing before? I'll say, no. They say, that's why you're saying what you're saying. You don't know what it feels like. So yes, it does give an enhanced feeling, but is the pain and the trouble of later years worth all of this? So what I try to do with them is that when I have a patient who is using actively, I say, you know what? I have someone who has been in your shoes before, who has walked the journey that you have walked, and who may be able to hold your hands through this journey as well. Sometimes it's important, the method with which we say it to these people, because again, like Dr. Dokun said, one positive result does not mean an individual is an addict. And if parents have failed, unfortunately, I know a lot of parents don't like to hear it, but parents fail. Parents have failed, and parents continue to fail every day. And it's not the big things, it's the little things. It's when my child wanted to say something to me, but I was not there. When I felt like it was my child, needed more money than my presence. Those are, did I imbibe in my child certain values so that, they can always look back and say, or when they wanted to ask me questions, and you'd be shocked that the children these days ask so many questions. Mommy, do you know this musician? Do you know what happened to him? Do you know this musician? He died from an overdose with substances because he had seizures. Answer their questions, because if you don't answer them, they'll take those questions somewhere else. And so they need all the help and support that they can get. More often than not, they already feel judged. They already feel invalidated. And so the interactions or the communication to them must be one of, you need help, you need support. I will support you. I will hold your hand. Empathy, kindness, are all of the things that these individuals need to succeed. It is never an easy journey, which is why we always say, don't even start it. Because to stop, to get off that behavior, to get off that substance, it may never happen.
And you see, they may not be lucky. I mean, I've seen someone who took it only once and that was it. He ended up in Yaba and became schizophrenic. The thing that they don't understand is, I said to them, it's like reacting to anti-malaria. Some people take chloroquine, they don't react. Some people take chloroquine, they react badly. It's the same thing about drugs. Some people take, they say, it makes me good. I said, true. There are two consequences, the immediate and the insidious. Because the immediate is, you sleep and everything. But what about the thing that makes you begin to get used to it? And later in years, begin to forget things. You begin to be, no motivation. You begin to get aggressive and all of those. They don't link those things to the substance use. And so we help them to link, to see into the future. Today, it may give you a high, but the high that does not last, that you need to recreate, that's not a high. You see, so I think what is so important is the awareness we're able to create. But how many of us are talking about this? The press is so ignorant. The only thing they publish is the sensation. We see that they found something they could do. And somebody died, he fell down, they begin to shoot movies of young kids who were fed drugs. And then you are shooting video and putting and punishing the boy for something that they did not deliberately do. And you think that is a way to create awareness? Of course not. So they find a way to do it without anybody knowing. The issue of parents is so critical. We can't run away from it. And I know what Dr. Abiri said. Parents will come, this boy is using drugs. I look at them. How some of these parents don't even know their children apart from their names. They don't know them. Then they say to them, I'm a doctor. I want you to be a doctor. And you don't know how the boy is doing science. And the boy wants to be an artist. You say, no, how can you eat from being an artist? But there are people like Professor Anabrakomeya. There are people that have made a lot of, Professor Warren can't read literature. There's nowhere in the world that is not known. So it's not about what you read. It's about what you make or what you have read. And parents need to know this very well. Don't force people to do things. Know your children. Even from the home, as they're growing up, you can know their proclivity as to what they're likely to read. But we don't have time. You say, no, this is a useless thing. You are just drawing. Honestly, Doctor, I don't know. I feel depressed sometimes when I talk about drawing because it's very painful. It's very painful.
Okay.
I think this has been very enlightening. And I think we will try and talk to that young man, Dr. Abiri, if you give us his number to take this, to take this further, because I think we need to have some of these things available so that parents can listen to this offline. They can take their time, listen to some of the things that we've talked about, and see how they can practicalize some of these things in their lives. There's so many dangers. And in fact, one of the things I was actually thinking about is a lot of people are in so much trouble now so many issues. I'm hoping that they're not, even the older ones turning to drugs I know, but certainly alcohol is something a lot more people are drinking now. And I'm hoping they're not turning to some of these illicit substances themselves, because it'll only complicate matters. But I think, I do want to thank you, the two of you, for coming on. I want to also thank the two of you for caring so much about what, is going on. And I want to say thank you so much for that, Dr. Abiri and Dr. Dokun, for coming on and sharing. Is there any other thing you think we should talk about before we wrap up?
I think also the only thing I want to put is what both of us have said about educating the people in the medical profession. Today, they call me from somewhere that they want to be sending doctors and nurses to all. Because I know some doctors who are still working. Their parents came and said, but they said he's not willing, he's not ready for rehabilitation. That person is going to be seeing patient. So we can begin to understand the danger we face when we are not careful. You see the driver, the bus driver of a school, nobody knows his antecedent, nobody has tested it, and he's driving 50 students to a picnic, and he rides into the beach. And then we say, hey, and then, Nigerians like to lament after the fact. We never, today they announced somebody who drove off the bridge at $30. Lone accident. And they said it was in critical condition. Can't you begin to imagine what could that have been? Or you see people in Lekki who just run into roundabout and all those things.
Yes.
Or you see a 21-year-old boy who has a house and nobody is asking questions. Oh, I know a lot who build their houses like in Lekki, 21-year-old, and they buy exotic cars.
Wow.
Pamela, I think it's just, let's just leave it at that. We'll do the best we can and see how it turns out.
Thank you.
It's pathetic.
It is. Thank you very much. Dr. Abiri.
Thank you.
Well, I think the last thing I want to say is the good book says that my people perish because they lack knowledge. A lot of times parents make the problem bigger because they're in a lot of denial. People tell you the telltale signs. They see your children in places where they shouldn't be. You know how we say it takes a village to raise a child, but these days we're losing those villages. And so even when people tell parents that, oh, do you want to check your child? They're like, no, I raised him well. That can't be my child and all of that. Denial has to stop. While we're not hoping or praying something bad happens, the earlier we face the reality on ground, the better it would be for all of us. Thank you. There is a big problem and we need to address it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe for new video updates.